Hello, everybody. Welcome to a new episode of Audio Signal Podcast, where, as you know, my name is Marco Ciappelli, and I'd like to talk about storytelling, storytellers, the people that tell the story, and stories. And so that, as you know, I'd like to say that we're all made of stories. Our society is based on that. Before printing, before Gutenberg, before pen and paper, or a chisel and a stone, we're still telling story one another, and that's how we pass knowledge and how we grow as a society. Sometimes we could grow a little bit better, but we make our mistakes. Today, I'm very excited because we're going to talk about not the past of storytelling or the traditional way to tell stories, but actually what is the future and the present, which is using virtual reality and augmented reality and all the fun stuff that now we can do with goggles. And maybe we'll touch on the metaverse a little bit as well. I feel like we could go there. And I don't know, it's going to be a conversation. It's not script. So I'm excited to have this conversation with Thibault Mathieu from Paris, France. In this moment, he's in Paris. I'm in Florence, Italy. So but I know that we both spent time in LA, so who knows, maybe one day we're going to meet there. Anyway, thanks to technology, it doesn't matter where we are. So, Thibault, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Marco.
Well, thanks for being here. Why don't we start a little bit with what I usually ask to people that are coming to the show, which is who are you? What you do, what is your passion, and what makes you a storyteller in a form or another?
Sure. Well, again, thank you so much for having me on the show. It's great to be here. As far as I can remember, I've always been, passionate about new ways to tell stories. When I was a kid, I was, writing little stuff. I wanted to be a movie director, when I was younger, which is also why, we were discussing just before our passion for storytelling, the entertainment industry, and the fact that, we also both lived in LA. And it was really, because of that passion. And now, that I'm a grown up, that's always, what drives me now is trying to find new ways again to tell these new kind of stories, and we use technology for that. And now, with the release of, as you said, like augmented reality, virtual reality, glasses, goggles, headsets, now it's opening up a huge field of opportunities to tell these stories, and that's what I'm personally super excited about.
And that's really exciting. And I can see people being conservative about the idea of changing the way we use story, but I think they forget that we went, as I said at the beginning, from telling story around a fire, maybe a fireplace in a house or in a field, and then print came out and radio came out and television came out and the big screen and all of that. And this is just another iteration, I think, of the way that we can tell stories. I would like to start this conversation with maybe the technology aspect of it. What makes it possible now and actually enjoyable versus maybe what 10 years ago was possible?
Sure. And, hearing you also talk about, the genesis of storytelling, it's true. And if you look at like the last, I would say, 150 years, what's fun to sort of notice is obviously, it's more and more screens. And the fact that these screens are getting closer and closer to us. So, it started, in the movie screen. So you big screen far away. Then obviously you had the TV, that came into our living room. You had the PC, that got a bit closer on your desk. And then you had the smartphone, that came right in your hand. And so it was just a matter, of time before the screen actually came to to our heads, basically to our, glasses, to replace our glasses. Obviously, I think the next iteration of that will be lenses directly, into our eyes to see the world all around you, augmented by layers of information, layers of experience, and that's so obviously it's a bit scary, but at the same time it's also again exciting in terms of the possibilities. Yeah.
Okay, so when I got in contact with your public relation PR department, you were just releasing some kind of immersive musical. You're going to tell me more about that yourself, which was, if I remember well, available for the latest generation of goggles for like Apple, I believe, and the latest one from Facebook as well. So tell me about what made that particular production maybe a big leap for the industry and for the way that we can tell storytelling.
Yeah. So just like a quick word of context and background also about me. I've been in immersive for 10 years now. So I was at the early days of VR, when Oculus was acquired by Facebook at the time.
Right.
Now Meta. And so I've seen the hype of the VR, AR, the metaverse. Obviously it goes up and down over the years. And this particular experience that we just introduced on the new generation of AR headsets, we actually first created it. It was a location-based augmented reality experience on a previous generation of AR headsets a few years ago called the Magic Leap, which basically, it was for Comic-Con. And so it was the first ever, and it still is, a musical created for mixed reality. So basically, the idea was that you would enter like a physical room, a physical location. In that case, we can go into the story a bit deeper after. But in that case, it's a little girl's room. And so you enter that room equipped with the glasses, and you would see like all the paintings, starting bursting into song. You have Liv, who's our character, the little girl, that starts singing. So it's kind of as if you were in the middle of a Broadway musical. And we had such an incredible emotional response from the audience that kind of really surprised us. And I think that's when I started really realizing that the fact that when you bring, impossible things into the viewer's reality, it creates, connections, I think, in your brain that basically eliminates all the barriers between the user, the viewer, and the digital content that you submit, that you offer to them. And so emotionally, the response is obviously much bigger and much deeper than obviously when you watch something on a screen, on a 2D screen, because now it's all around you. But again, without cutting yourself from your own reality. So that was back then, and then we went on to work with big brands and things like that. And now 2024, that the new generation of AR headsets has come out, meaning the Apple Vision Pro, which is an amazing device, and the Meta Quest 3 that also allows us to create great augmented reality experience. We completely reimagined that experience, that musical, it's called Out There, for this new generation of AR headsets. So it's a completely again a new experience that's specifically designed for these two headsets, and that really just came out on both the Apple Vision Pro store and the Meta Quest 3 store, and so far the response and the reviews are really great. So we're super happy.
Let me ask you this. So the idea of the uncanny valley. Right, when yes. Something is there, it seems real, but there's something off. And I feel technology for a long time, video games and all of that. You're like, it kind of feels weird. Now, I've seen few things in the Apple headset, and I've seen the preview of this movie. I haven't actually seen this musical that you created, but I can tell that the idea is that it feels really alive, right? So you think now with the technology we have, we can eliminate that uncanny valley feeling that people feel uncomfortable and they can really, wow, I really am inside this world. Is that the response you had?
Yeah, I think it's a really good point. It's still there to some extent, I guess. I think to me the uncanny valley is really like when you have like an avatar that's trying to be hyper realistic, that starts what they call the meta humans, that start talking to you, but now with again like especially the Apple Vision Pro, we're getting to that point where like the resolution is so good that you actually forget that you're wearing a headset. So and that's true for two things. It's true for the resolution and the quality of the 3D content that we showcase, but it's also true for what we call pass-through augmented reality. So basically, it's the fact that when you're wearing the goggles, the headset, again, you still see your real world environment, but it's really like two cameras that basically project, the world that you're looking at, and there's so little latency, and the resolution again is so good that it really feels that you're just watching reality with your own eyes, and at some point you forget that you're wearing the headset, and that really, as you said, I think eliminates the uncanny valley. Before the Quest 3 from Meta and the Vision Pro from Apple, the pass-through quality of AR, the real-world environment, it was super pixelated. The quality, the colors of the image were really different than obviously when you look at the world with your own eyes, and so you could really tell people, you could really see that obviously you're not looking at the world with your own eyes. Yeah. But now it's really difficult to see the difference, and you could really easily forget that you're wearing the headset, but at some point, hey, there's something, like a 3D character that's talking to me, right. As if I was in my real world environment.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Tell me something. I'm very curious because I just had a conversation with a writer. He does fantasy. He already wrote a couple of trilogies, and they were transforming his world into a video game. And we talked about adapting something when it goes cross media, like you go from one media to another. As a writer, obviously you have your idea in mind, and then you can make a movie, you can make a video game. I feel like when you actually do 3D, you step into a completely different dimension. You get into a multi-dimension. What has been your experience, or what do you like, not like, about creating stories for this new technology? What is different?
At the end of the day, I think what matters is not really the technology that we deploy on.
It's a good story.
You're also a writer. Yeah. Obviously, I mean, I know it's kind of cliche to say that, but it's really true. What matters is what story we want to tell, and then what media we're going to tell it on. Is it a book? Is it a TV show? Is it a video game? Is it an AR experience, a VR experience? What's true, though, is that I think that we approach storytelling in AR in a very different way than, let's say, what we would do in VR. Because in virtual reality, you yourself are completely like teleported into a fully immersive virtual imaginary world, right? Whereas in AR or MR, it's imaginary elements that are teleported into your world. So it's really different. I think the way we would, approach what we're going to say and how we're going to say it in terms of the writing, storyboarding. That's we're really trying, and I think now we're getting to that point of expertise with me and my team, where we know now what works well in AR and what doesn't work. For instance, when you create a portal, let's say, and that's actually the case in out there. So basically, you're in your living room, you're looking at a blank wall, and all of a sudden the wall will open to this magical window into a magical universe. It's a 3D portal. And so just looking at that, creating a new room in your room,
Right.
and blending that into your real world environment and having these three elements coming at you, I think is super powerful in terms of storytelling. So that, to go back to your question, that's really what excites me a lot, is always trying to come up with innovative ideas as to creating a story that also happens in your life, in your real world environment. And it's still very much of a blank page because this technology is super new. So we're all trying to again figure out what works and what doesn't work, and obviously we're still experimenting a lot, and that's also, I think, part of what's fun in creating these experiences.
And I feel like, so as you're saying all of this, and I'm kind of processing from a marketing perspective, like, first of all, we're talking about pretty expensive, very expensive in the Apple world tool to actually experience this the right way. So that could be already a barrier for a certain audience. And another thing that I was thinking is, do you need to be in an enclosed space? Can you see this creation, this movie that you're talking about, if you are in your garden outside, or do you have this limitation where, I mean, it's a room, you say, so imagine you need to be in a room in order to work, but that's the question for you. And I want to wrap that into, who is your audience right now? Because I'm thinking kids, because I saw the trailer. It's like a Disney, musical. Sounds like it. I'm a big Disney fan myself, so I could hear it. But yeah, I mean, is it a little girl that can put a $5,000 goggle machine on the head and look at it? So I'm curious about who's watching this.
Yeah. So first question about experiencing these stories into like a nice outside environment, like a garden. Yes, technically it's possible. It's not a main usage of people doing AR and let alone VR. Also because there are a lot of still limitations with the technology in terms of the lighting.
Right.
You don't want to be in a too sunny environment because that can mess up a lot of things in terms of tracking also, because what's a big thing in AR is tracking the content. So basically, when I place an object, a 3D object, into your world, you want it to stay there. So
and measuring the depth.
Exactly. So let's say I have a 3D character that's there. If I move the head and I go back, it still needs to be there.
Right. Because
if it moves with you, obviously it cuts the sense of immersion and the fact that it's anchored into your world. And I think that's really what makes these experiences magical, is the fact that these, again, imaginary elements are like anchored into your real life world. So all those and same with movements, all those videos that you saw of users coming out of their Tesla Cybertrucks wearing an Apple Vision Pro and walking like that.
About that, to be honest.
It's completely fake, obviously, because there's no experience that moves with you, and especially on the Vision Pro, it's really not made for movement. So first thing, and to go back to your second point about the audience. So that's a very good question. I'm a father of two young kids, and so they're like 6 and 5, and I'm not gonna, put a headset on their head until they're at least 10 or 12.
Good call. Good call. I agree.
and I and I would not obviously advise to do that with kids, because I think you need to have a certain really young kids maturity to understand what's real and what's not real. So let's try first to educate them on the reality. So difficult to do right now, especially with the rise of fake news, AI, deep fakes, and things like that. So if you add technology that makes them see things that are not real, that could become sort of a problem. So I think, first of all, I think as these devices are going to become more and more mainstream, it's going to be super important also that states regulate legally on the usage of these technologies for kids. That's super important. But same thing for smartphones. I don't think a 6-year-old kid should have a smartphone or an iPad. But that's maybe being very French conservative. But that being said, I think the experiences that we create, they can appeal to a 12-year-old, from a 12-year-old to a 70-year-old. And as you said, you're a Disney fan. I'm also a big Disney and Pixar fan. And that's kind of also our ambition, is to become the Disney of XR, of mixed reality. And I think there's no real age to sort of experience these stories. So but not for very young kids.
Yeah, well, the audience knows that I actually write with my mom, which is over 70.
Okay.
Short stories for kids. Well,
cool.
She just started not too long ago, so we always try to think, is this for the kids? And let's define kids. So we just say it's for kids and all the young at heart, right? You can be 90 years old and love this kind of thing. I can watch Disney, Pixar every day,
Me too.
And all of that. So I agree with you, but you need to put it into context that, of course, there's reality and then there is that, but it's good for people to imagine story, and that's what fantasy is about. So let me go to, as we have a few more minutes here, I know you're very busy, so I don't want to take too much of your time, but I know that, I also come from the advertising world, and I know that you guys work with big brands, and I have always been fascinated by advertising, especially in Europe. Sorry, America, a little less in the United States, but the UK, France, Italy, they've always been doing really good ads since the 80s and even before. And I always look at advertising as a 30-second movie, a 1-minute movie. I mean, it has to tell a story. It has to be fascinating. It's not just about showing the product. Otherwise, we go back to what you said. It's about the story. It's not about the technology, right? So your experience in applying this to a new way of doing marketing, and the other question is it working, or are we just doing it because it's a new technology, it's fascinating, or it brings something really new to the table that is going to stick with the consumers?
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that. All of us in the team, we all come from an entertainment background. It's the case for me as the CEO. Our lead 3D director is actually one of the creators of the Minions movies.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And so we were not really targeting, working with big brands. But so our first major experience was the one we did, again, entertainment for Comic-Con. And actually, the brand Lancôme saw it, and they loved it, and they started, approaching us to create an experience, an in-store experience on an AR goggles, and so there was our first commercial project for Lancôme at the flagship store on the Champs-Élysées in Paris, where you would enter the store, being equipped with a headset, the AR headset. So you still see the store all around you. You see the products, you see the people, the salespeople, the what they call the beauty advisor all around you, and you still see this amazing flagship store scenography, which, without any kind of 3D content is already beautiful. Yes. But all of a sudden you see, flowers growing around you. You see like magical portals that open up to virtual world, of Lancôme. You have like virtual guides that take you throughout this experience. So it's all about, again, like augmenting that already beautiful setup and scenography. And so we did that first project, which they really loved. And then we did many more with Lancôme, L'Oréal, and many other brands. And now when we get approached, by brands like Cartier, Hermès, and others, it's because we come from an entertainment background. And all these big luxury houses, companies, I think their main focus is not just like on, immediate ROI. It's about how do I tell my universe, my brand story, my brand universe in so many ways. And these new technologies, and I think that's why they like working with us, is because we try to really like position ourselves as storytellers and not as marketers. And so that's really, really true, I think, for big luxury houses. And that's why they make such amazing, as you said, beautiful luxury ads. It's because it's like a mini movie, and they're always looking for new ways to tell their stories, to embark their users, their customers into their universe, and that's just one more way to do it.
All right. So, last question is: every time there is a new technology, we think is going to take all the past is going to disappear. Journal. Magazine are going to go away, newspaper because the radio came, the radio is going to disappear because of TV. We have a song about that too, it didn't happen. And then other things, the internet and so forth. Do you see these being this augmented reality way of making movies or short movies or entire movie as something that is going to change the way that we want to see movie? I mean, do you think everybody one day, and I'll be extreme here, I know don't think I'm crazy, but I'm not just saying, is it something that it could become normal to, like you see in the sci-fi movie, to put your goggle on, to watch TV and to go shopping maybe? Or, I don't know, it's one niche together with other?
I mean, I hope it's going to obviously become way more mainstream than what it is now, because, we have also to face the fact that there are still not a lot of people, equipped with these
well, there's a cost
right now
as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's getting that's true for the Apple Vision Pro, which is like almost $4,000. But like the MetaQuest 3S that was just announced at MetaConnect a few weeks ago is going to be like $300. So, it's and I think that's also part of it's a good strategy, obviously, to make it more mainstream. Yeah. I don't think it's going to replace anything. It's, as you said, when a lot of technologies started appearing, everybody afraid that it would kill the previous order. Mm-hmm. Obviously it's not going to be the case. I still think if you look at a long-term view, when I was in the subway this morning in Paris, obviously everybody's like that, when you we're like in the business district of Paris right there, and I see a lot of people passing by here, everybody is like on their phone. I think it's really possible that in just a few years, people are going to walk around with very small glasses, just like the ones that you're wearing now, and they're going to see things that you don't see. And everything they could do, in the palm of their hand, they're going to be able to do just by blinking, by talking to their, AI assistant, by maybe just doing like a few hand gestures, and so it's probably also, if we go a bit deeper into like perspective further, going to change the way we project ourselves. I could really see a future where I wake up in the morning, I can choose the avatar I want to display, for all the people that I'm gonna encounter that day. And same thing for like virtual makeup. Everything you can do on a snap lens or in a team meeting, with those virtual makeups, things like that. It's probably going to happen also in the real world. And so, yeah, I really think down the line, it's going to become mainstream. Meta just introduced their Orion glasses, which are, again, very slick, very thin right now. It's still very much of a prototype. It's still a proof of concept, but it shows like the 10-year, I think, vision and ambition. And obviously, so much money is put, on the table by these big companies that it's very likely it's gonna happen.
Yeah, no, I love this, and I love talk about the future and technology, so we could talk for a long time. But what I want to close with, because I know you have to go, and we are at the 30 minutes mark, is that I want to go back to what you said at the beginning when I asked you what makes a good product of augmented reality and immersion, and is a good story. I think that's still at the core of either we're writing, sharing a song, taking a picture, making a painting, whatever, tell a story. If the story's not good, you can use the technology. Yeah, it's gonna be like, oh my God, this is incredible, but you're not making it your own. And I think you need a good story to do that.
Absolutely. And I think also going back to out there, the experience we just released, I think it's why people, love it so much, because right now, especially with Apple, it's been remarketed as a, productivity tool that kind of replace your MacBook, but not as much as a storytelling tool. And that's why a lot of people, a lot of users, are so into that. It's just because it's a cool little story that uses technology to convey emotion and not just tech, just for the sake of doing tech.
Yep, absolutely. And we're all made of stories, so they better be good ones, or we're screwed. So, Thibault, thank you so much for your time. I really enjoyed this conversation. I hope the audience did the same thing, and there will be links to connect with you, to the company, to watch the movie on YouTube, and then if they have the tool, that will watch the full immersion movie, Augmented Reality. So stay tuned, subscribe, and Thibault, thank you again so much for.
Thanks so much, Marco. Thank you.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.